Hello everyone, welcome back to Cozy Tea. I'm super excited to share with you today how I made this animated short using Procreate Dreams and a few other tools. Sit back, relax, and let's get into today's video. We're starting this off by creating some of the animals that Glowy is going to meet along his way during his adventure. These are all going to be done with traditional watercolors using Koi and Kuretake Gansai Tambi Watercolor sets. I'll note these are not well known for their light fast capabilities, however, they are very good if you're going to scan them in digitally, which is what I'm going to do later on, so I find these to be appropriate for what I need them for. I'm going about it this way because I like the look of watercolor on cold pressed paper, and while there are a lot of videos that tell you how to make a Procreate brush which can make this look in digital art, I figured why not just do traditional watercolor and then put it into Procreate. And I do this by taking a picture of it when I'm finished, so I'm not using some fancy scanner or anything, I'm just using my phone to take a photograph and then I upload it to Procreate. I will be making some minor adjustments for animation purposes to these paintings, so these serve as a foundation for that. So the characters are going to be, we've got the glow bug and his name's going to be Glowy, and then the fox name is Foxy. Super simple. He's going to be a friendly encounter in the story. Right now you're seeing the fish being drawn. The fish is going to be chasing the glow bug, trying to eat him as it jumps out of the water. I want people to remember, and I'm saying this as an amateur myself, but it's not about the way things are technically or socially supposed to be done. I think it more has to do with how creative you are with what you have at your disposal. You know, I'm working a full-time job like a lot of people, and it's just hard sometimes to find the time for that, personal things and what have you. Creativity is really going to help you be able to explore some of these ideas, get them out there, get people's attention. So don't get discouraged because you're not capable of doing something exactly like a professional master would. That's not always achievable at the moment. You can only do so much. So give yourself a break. Allow tools and resources to be at your disposal, but don't allow tools and resources to control your creativity. Use your creativity with those tools to create stories that mean something to you. So right now I'm drawing the hands. These hands are going to be animated to try to catch the glow bug in a jar. So I did a top hand holding the lid of the jar and then the bottom hand holding the actual jar. And these are going to just simply go up and down to try to catch the bug as it runs away. I really enjoyed this particular part of the painting process. I really like how the jar turned out. It looks really solid. And here's a little note for you if you're gonna do something like this, because I made this mistake while doing this. I didn't consider what the background was gonna be. I did all the backgrounds in Procreate. So the background of this particular scene is a dark blue, but you can't tell through the jar. So the back of the jar is actually clear to show through to the white paper that's underneath it, but in the animation it should be a dark blue, and I didn't do that the right way. But I kept it in because whatever, but that's something to think about if you're trying to do something similar. So now we've got the main character, the protagonist of the story, Glowy himself, and it's just very simple. I've got a brown dot, and then I use the light pen to draw the glow part of his body, and then I draw his face, of course. The wings are done frame by frame using Procreate, and then I drag those into Procreate Dreams, so we'll see that later on in the process. We conclude on the drawing aspect of this animation process with the mushroom garden. This is going to be the final scene of the animation, but this is both complicated and simple. The drawing was pretty easy. To get the glow effects, once again I just used the light pen. You can also use the light brush. That's how you get that luminescent look for Procreate digital art. I also use Gaussian blur to give some depth to the background from the foreground to separate that a little bit, but the main thing I wanted to keep in mind here was keeping all of the layers separated. I didn't want everything to move together in unison because it wouldn't look natural to what you would expect if you were outside actually seeing stuff blow in the wind. So I kept every layer separated, so when I dragged it into Procreate, and we'll see this down the road, that I moved those individually and in different directions so that it simulated that naturalness. And you'll see that when the animation is finished when we play it back. If you would like more information about the illustration process of this, and maybe I can make videos on that specifically, let me know and I can walk you through my art process when it comes to drawing. But I'm just simplifying this because we're focusing on the animation part, but I wanted to show you the foundation first. So to start this off, we are doing the wings. So as I said, I drew these in Procreate first and I just dragged them into Procreate Dreams. So I'm going to copy and paste the cycle of these a couple of times to get that cycle going, and then I group those together. And the reason I do this instead of just grouping the one cycle and duplicating that is because there's still a limit on how many things you can group in Procreate Dreams, so I don't want to over group. I don't want to run out of those options later on down the road when I want to simplify some of these more complex amount of frames that I have going on. The first animal that we're meeting in this animation is the fish trying to chase the glow bug to eat him. So to do this, I am literally hitting the record button and then just dragging the fish across the screen. I'm also using the move and scale option, which you can access hitting the movie icon when you tap on the timeline. If you tap outside the corner of the scale box, you will see a little curve. Place and hold your pen on that curve, and then you can rotate the image as much as you want, 360 degrees either direction. The great thing about Procreate Dreams is when you hit that little record icon, you can do one cycle however you're doing it. So the first cycle was me dragging the fish across the screen, and then the second cycle was rotating him a little bit. And you can also move around these keyframes in the timeline to adjust it however you want. So you can go through one cycle of animation with the record button multiple times, moving in different directions to create a lot of complexity to the character movement, especially with a static image like this. And that allows for faster movements, slower movements. You can move those keyframes so they're closer together so you get a faster movement. You can move them farther away from each other so you get a slower movement. There's a lot of options that you have with this. It's a very diverse amount of opportunities with this small feature. Next are the hands with the jar. So this is a very simple part. This actually took the longest to paint, but to animate was the quickest. I do these the same by moving both of them to the left side of the canvas, a little bit outside of it. I record these hands not only going into the screen, but also rotating to imitate the motion of trying to close the jar on Glowy so he gets captured into the jar. But Glowy is going to fly straight through. I've already got Glowy grouped all together, so I'm just going to take the same grouped layer that I had from the previous frame, duplicate that, and then record it dragging through this part of the animation. This is the great thing about Procreate Dreams is you don't have to redraw every single thing all the time. You can if you want to, and that's totally valid if you want to do that. That's cool. But you can also do it this way, where if you draw it once, you've got it, and you can utilize that as an asset throughout the entire animation process. So this is the second to last scene of the animation. I know this story doesn't really make sense. He's just like running through and things are trying to get him, but the fox is a friendly creature. I was going to originally have the fox in its entirety in the animation, but I decided after working on it, it was hard to see the facial expressions of Glowy, which are really important in this part of the story. So I zoomed in on just the fox's face, which I think provided a better perspective from a bug's point of view anyway. Everything in this portion is frame by frame besides flying Glowy around the screen. I draw his facial expressions frame by frame of him expressing his exhaustion, also the lettering that's put in there when he says phew. I also am frame by frame animating Foxy smiling as well as his blinking. Also, in lieu of voice recording this whole thing by myself, which I'm not against in the future, but for now I just use sounds that I got from Epidemic Sound. It's a subscription that I have, not sponsored. Since it's not voice acted, I leaned on music to heavily express a lot of the emotional expressions that the characters have in this animation. So it embodies that old cartoon feel with the modern touch of digital polish, if you will. For the very last part of this, I'm showing a lot of glowing yellow dots moving in the background to simulate that there's a lot of glow bugs in the background so that this is a big neighborhood of people. So to do this, I did this two different ways. I did do some of these frame by frame, but then I realized this is something that you could streamline by hitting the record feature. So I do a bunch of glowing dots on separate tracks, and then each track at a time, I hit the record button and I drag those across the screen accordingly. So it looks like there's a bunch of glow bugs flying around in the background. It was very simple. It didn't take that long to do, and you can see here how straightforward that is. At the very end, I grouped all those together just to decrease the amount of tracks that there were. And I concluded by having Glowy fly on top of one of the mushrooms, and that being the end of the animation. So that is how this process worked for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. So if you liked the video, please consider hitting that like button. And I have noticed that the majority of my viewers are not subbed to the channel. So if you like what I'm watching, please hit that subscribe button and stick around for a while and join our cozy little corner of the internet so I can show you more of these cool little animation projects that I'm working on. Alright, so I'm going to show the animation once. Since it's about a minute and a half long, I won't play it 2 times, but if you want, I do have this uploaded separately, and I'll link that down below if you want to watch that by itself. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and always don't forget to stay cozy. Peace.
Ciao.